All right.
Adrienn, welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. It's great to have you. I'd love to give people context for who you are if they've never heard of you before. So the question I like to ask is, when people ask you what you do, how do you answer them, or what do you tell them?
I say straight away, I do jump rope. So sometimes I get the looks like for a living.
Right.
And then I have to explain what that means exactly and what kind of jump rope am I talking about and what it includes and how can you actually make a living out of it. So then the conversation expands a little bit.
Yeah, I get the same reaction, and I'm not a performer. I sell them, and they're like, there's enough jump ropes to sell that you can have a job doing that?
Who is buying?
Right. So how long have you been doing that for?
Well, I started jump rope more than 30 years ago. I did close to 15 years of competitions, and afterwards I did performances. Well, I have been doing performances because I still work on that field. And also I started to give a lot of fitness trainings with jump ropes, also selling some jump ropes. Whatever can relate basically to rope skipping or jumping rope, I take it.
Yeah. Anything possible.
Yeah.
How many people do you think in the world can say they are like their job is to jump rope?
I think it's more and more people. I remember when we started to do the performances, and actually the performances are the part that you can make a good living after you are done competing. And at that moment, well, it was maybe like 15 years ago. So at that moment, not too many people, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say in the world, maybe 10 people or 15, or I don't know about the rest. That
Right.
would have been the answer. Now I think a lot more people, a lot of small brands start to come to life, and they start to have more and more interested people joining a jump rope group or a community. So I think it's spreading.
Yeah. So 10 people when you did it. And I'm just wondering, when you set out, like if you finished competing and you set out to make a living doing jump rope, did you think this is going to work? Or were you a little bit unsure if it would last?
Well, I didn't think I would be able to make a living out of it, but I always wanted to jump rope. So I think the amount of time that I spent on training and also teaching in the beginning, I was feeling sad to leave it behind just like that, and just keep doing something else, which is a completely different job. So I always stick with it, even when I had to work something else because I couldn't make a living out of jump rope.
Yeah.
But on the way, I think I also believe that the energy that you invest or put in things that you like to do eventually bring you to a place where you can really focus your life on it eventually, and you can find a way to make a living. And we've been in also, I mean, in a lucky situation, because after competing, we got a call from Cirque du Soleil for an audition. So we went right away. And then my sister started working for them very soon after the audition. But I had to wait 6 years before I got a contract. So I was working a lot in fitness, giving classes, giving kids classes with jump rope, doing performances basically for free. Because and I said that one day maybe I will get a contract for something, but for the moment it's what I like to do anyway. So paying or not paying doesn't matter.
Right. So when you say jump rope, people have that reaction like, you can do that, but then what is the thing that people think you mean when you say jump rope, and how much do you have to like correct their thinking so that they understand what it means? Because I think a lot of people, at least my experience selling jump ropes, the connotation is like, oh, beat a jump rope on the playground, double Dutch with nursery rhymes. Like, what is it that you found people associate that with?
I think the answer to this has been changing over the last 10 years, basically.
Okay.
When I answered this 10 years ago, there was a shock. Now I think people see a little bit more commercials, or they have more well, in the environment around, they can see a little bit more of the modern way of using jump rope, so they don't necessarily have the association with the playground skipping. But there are, I would say, still 50% who thinks that's the main thing that you can do with the skipping rope. And yeah, sometimes I have to explain longer, sometimes pretty short, because they say, oh yeah, I seen it somewhere, it looked cool, the performance part, and they were at the Olympic Games. So at the moment, I think there are more and more young competitive athletes who are performing as well, and then the way the sport is promoted is getting wider and wider, and it reaches more and more people. So I'm happy to say that it's now only 50% of the people that I have a big explanation about it.
Yeah.
But,
oh, that's funny. You said modern style. When you say modern style of jump rope, what do you mean?
Well, basically most people 10 years ago would only think of this playground skipping, not even thinking of double dutch that you could see in the US as an origin of the competitive jump rope, basically. But yeah, eventually I consider modern skipping the way that competitive jump rope is, or at least the way people start to develop their skills at home, that we could see on a lot of Instagram videos, and how the community is improving. So the people are actually interested in learning some basic tricks with the jump rope. So it's not that we go out and we do like 50 jumps and that's the only thing we can do with the jump rope, but they experiment, they want to learn, they want to challenge themselves. And I think that's a cool thing to see.
Yeah. So
modern way.
right. Yeah. There's a willingness to try more and like less than just do it and check the box. People want to actually immerse themselves in it a little more.
Also, I see more and more people picking up the jump ropes in fitness clubs. I used to work in this, I still do, but I used to work in a lot of fitness clubs before, and I didn't see a lot of people using the ropes. I mean, it was somewhere in the edge of the gym, old style, not looking very effective also. And then people don't feel, I mean, if you are not good at it right away, many people are shy to pick it up and then be in front of an audience and sharing the same room with people who are pushing weights or doing their regular cardio. Then they are tripping over the rope. It doesn't look that cool. So they were shy to pick it up. And I think now this is changing.
Yeah. Why do you think it's changing?
I just see more and more people not being afraid of making mistakes also. And they are, I think also social media helps on this part, because people share a lot of stories or how they started and how far they got in a certain time. And they share also the mistakes and the difficulties of what they experienced. And it gives, I think, a courage for the other people to try and not being afraid of the same thing can happen to me. I mean, the same thing happens to everybody.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. I had a really interesting conversation with Devin Meek, who is a younger jumper he's in Florida, but he's a performer, and he was talking about how when he learns a new acrobatic skill or something, before he puts it into a show, it's not that he has it perfected. It's that he's learned all the ways that he could fail and how to recover. And that like kind of blew my mind. So we started talking about just how important it is to be able to fail, because then you can recover. And how so often, at least like perfectionist tendencies, prevent us from even getting to that point. And anyways, it was just like this really, I never knew that about performance and practice. And is it the same for you, that you've just, once you know all the ways that you could fail and you can recover, it's good to go?
Getting faster to get out of the rope. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very good skill to have when you had a lot of mistakes before, then you are faster on fixing it. But also in performance, eventually, I think for sure, it's nice to see a clean routine, and we come from competition where that's the goal. But in entertainment and in performance, it's not necessarily the goal that you have to be without mistakes. It's for many times it's also nice for the people to see that you are human and you can actually make mistakes, and then how you get out of it. And I think it can be also motivation, and many people don't even see that it's a mistake. Also, especially if you have the experience to get out of it fast. But it's also a realization, basically, or you understand that it's not easy, because it looks easy for many people who watch a competitive jump roper doing a routine as an entertainment or a performance. It looks very easy.
Right.
then when you start trying it, then you realize that, oh my God, it's 30 seconds and I can hardly breathe.
Yeah, no kidding. Watching your videos, I'm like, I don't understand how she can do this. This is insane. Like 3 minutes, super fast, no mistakes, and you're somehow not breathing hard at the end. It blows my mind.
I hide that.
Well, that's impressive. I went for a very short run this morning and was feeling old. So I don't think I would come close to doing the jump rope routines. I would be gassed very quickly. So
it's definitely a challenge for sure.
Yeah, it's impressive. So you were talking about your sister, because you were saying and then you said she got the contract. Did you guys grow up jumping together?
Yeah.
Okay.
We started together, and we competed against each other and together in a team as well. So we tried many forms of skipping together.
Yeah. What was it like competing? Did you prefer competing against her or with her?
With her. Against is always like, in a way, you don't want to win. It's not cool when you're competing against a sister. She's my younger sister, and of course it's the tendency also, it's a younger sister, so you let her do the things in front of you and you give her the attention and so on. So I like to see when she wins, but at the competition you cannot go like that.
No, you got to try to win.
You have to put your 100% in a way. So, but we share it. Sometimes she won, sometimes I won, so it's okay.
How much younger is she?
A year and a half.
Okay, so you guys are pretty close.
Yeah. We had to go to the same age group.
Oh wow.
We didn't have this joker that she could be competing with the younger ones.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you guys like have grown up doing this and now are doing it together. Like it's a family business almost at this point. And not many people get to keep on doing the same thing and have a really good relationship with their siblings. And has it always been easy to work with her and do what you guys are doing together?
We always had the same goals, and then we are not very light on training. I think both of us have a very strict discipline on trainings. When it comes to ideas about the choreographies, there's sometimes we had some frictions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you guys have friction, how do you settle the disagreements?
Well, one of us will leave the gym for a bit. No, but it happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, we check again. We try to take suggestions from each other, and then as you get older, it's smoother. When you're younger, there's like, I would like this one.
Yeah, you kind of put your foot in the ground a little more and don't budge. There's more compromise now that you guys have done it so much. So when you think about what you guys are doing with performances, how long do you think you'll do it for?
This is a question that is hard to answer.
Really?
I think physically, it's not a very dangerous sport when we look at it. I mean, the risk of injury, if you take care of your body, is quite low in a way. I mean, especially working on the ground, you're not doing any aerial. You are, now you can combine it with a lot of things. I see some guys doing teeter boards with the rope. It looks super cool. But when we think of the regular skipping, it's really not a very high injury risky sport. There are people, we had a performance up to 50 years old. Wow. So for me, I think it's not only the question of your physical well-being, it's also where you are heading or how you feel about performing, and what kind of contracts you can fulfill, because longer contracts are hard on a way. You have to do a lot of shows, and it gets hard on the body doing 3-4 shows a day for 6-7 months or maybe years. This one at the moment I'm not doing anymore, mostly short-term things. And that's quite comfortable actually. I like the feeling of it. You go to some places, you meet some people, you do your performance maybe 2 times, 3 times, and then you enjoy the place and you can come home. So this is a nice part. And it's changing also, especially maybe 10 years ago, I was ready to go and explore a lot of different places and move here, move there. And I did that, and it was a super nice time. And then that now I enjoy teaching people more, actually, because I think after all the years you gain a lot of experience, and at one point it's nice to share that.
Yeah.
Now it's the time for me more to do that.
So how much of your time do you spend teaching versus on the performance side?
For the moment, I would say 70% teaching, 30% performing.
Wow. And so now that COVID is somewhat behind us, has that given you more opportunity to do teaching, or were you always doing it online? What's it look like?
I never stopped actually teaching. Even we did it online as well. And here in Hungary, it was possible to keep doing trainings for clubs. So this was a nice thing during these last 2 years, actually. And so in this time, we built a bigger club here, and then we involved a lot of children as well, adults also. We have a couple of trainings for moms. Dads a little bit less likely to join the jump rope crew, but moms definitely are interested. And yeah, it's growing, I think, as a community here as well, and online too. So COVID actually pushed jump rope, I think, in a good direction, because it was an activity that people could do at home. They could take a lot of online classes. Many people had videos on YouTube how to do things, how to start your training with the jump rope. And I see it was a boom basically for skipping.
Yeah.
Especially on the level of fitness. On the competitive part, it's a different story a bit. But for fitness, I think it was a great time in general.
Yeah. Do you think it'll stick? Like, do you think it'll continue to grow, or do you think it'll fall off? Like, we're looking into the crystal ball a little bit and tell me what you think.
I have a difficulty to predict the future, but my feeling about it is that it will keep growing.
Yeah,
it will keep growing because the activity itself is very special, and I don't know for the other people, but what I feel on my own body is I cannot compare it to running. It doesn't give me the same effect, even if I do the same intensity training. And it's also for the brain, it's something very special to do. It makes you focus. You can combine it with music, so the effect on the body is very unique. And I think once you start to get the feel of it, it's hard to let it go.
Yeah.
In a way. And I think once when someone who hasn't tried it yet sees somebody who tried it and actually see the joy of it, and also the possibilities, how fast you can improve if you practice, I think it's a catch basically for the new people to join the communities of skipping.
Yeah. So how much of it is like people are getting drawn into it because of the social aspect? There's more and more people, so they have peers and it's kind of cool, and to participate there's actual community? Or how much of it is like, oh, there's almost these levels to unlock because there's so many of these tricks that are available that you can try, and like you can see yourself progress, like that goal chaser type of mentality, I guess?
I would say for the people around me, it's a lot about the community. But there are people who like to train on their own and they want to keep improving. For the ratio, what I experience here is maybe about 60-40%, something like this for the community. If it's me, I go for the community.
Yeah.
And unlock all the tricks afterwards together with the people. But and that kept me also in the sport, because for competitions as well, because we had a great group. I used to play other team sports as well. I played handball and a little bit of basketball, whatever sports I could touch, I tried. And I like those sports as well. But we had a great group in skipping, which was the number one thing eventually.
Yeah, I've heard that from a handful of people that grew up competitive jumpers, that the community that they were part of was just different.
Yeah, very different. And also not only locally for us, but internationally as well. When we went for competitions, I have very good friends from other countries. We used to compete against each other. And this week, I have also a friend from jump rope. Well, we know each other maybe for 30 years already, coming to visit. And the community in it it's just something really special. And I hope it is today, because we have the European Championships this week in Slovakia, which is not far from us. So I will go tomorrow to check that out, and I will be able to give an update on the current community of the younger ones.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with this one, that the community is special.
Mm. Yeah, it seems that way. And I've really enjoyed, since I've started working here, getting to know the people in the community.
Mhm.
And I think it's like a lot of communities, right? Once you get into it, you
Plenty.
find
Yeah.
the people are who are like-minded, really are good people, and you just got to like break in. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been trying to figure that out. Like, is it a community thing that's driving the growth, or is it this like ability now to see? So like jump rope was always so tucked away and insular. Like you didn't know about what you could do with a jump rope
Mhm.
before, I would say, really COVID, kind of like all the social media accounts that came on and like started bombarding people's feeds. And outside of you, like there are some videos that were floating around that people could stumble across on YouTube, but now people's minds are being open to the possibilities that,
Yeah.
oh, wow, because I had no idea. Like, and I grew up with a jump rope in my hand because I used it to train, but I didn't know what you could do with it, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that gives the motivation for people to try also, because then it doesn't, I mean, what I said before, it doesn't look hard that you're not going to be able to do that, you know, like it looks in a way reachable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's attainable.
yeah,
At
yeah.
least there's like different levels and it can get scaled for
Mhm.
people as they go.
Exactly, yeah.
So, thinking about jump rope, who was, and competitive, when you were competitive, who was like your arch rival, nemesis, person that you were competing against, you were trying to beat when you were growing up?
Well, quite a few generations actually. Mostly in Hungary, we had another Hungarian girl in the European community who was really good, and honestly, she beat me most of the time.
Oh,
And then we went to a world championship in Australia, and I'm able to train actually. If I like training, that more than the competition itself. I enjoy the training process, and the competition for me, it's a nice challenge, but it's not stressful in a way. You get, of course, excited, but I enjoy this kind of environment.
yeah.
And so when we went to Australia for a competition, and I thought that because of one of the disciplines I was better than her, that it will be now great, you know. And then I remember it was a girl from the United States for triple unders who did like a crazy number. I never even thought it was going to be possible to do this much. It was, at that time it was 200. If I remember right, it was 250
Wow.
consecutive triple unders, and if you try that, you know it's a big number. Yeah, so especially for, I mean, I think she did more than the boys at that time also in
Wow.
that particular competition. And then I came home, and then I thought, okay, so this is possible actually to do this much, but how?
Yeah.
So I spent, I think, maybe like 8 months training, and then I went for the next competitions, and I know her name. It was Emily Bonnet, probably. I don't know. She's not doing competitions anymore, but she was really good. And then I came back home, and then I practiced. And 8 months after, I could reach at one of the selective competitions 300. And then the number kept growing: 310, 320, and 330, and so on. And then you know that, okay, then you can reach it with certain amount of training. And this was the first
Yeah.
time I was able to beat most of the people in Europe. And also with this number, it was a world record for 10 years, more close to 10 years. And then
Wow.
Tori Boggs arrived. And then I knew that, okay, this record will last some time, but she will get it at one point for sure. Like the mentality is, and I think she's maybe 10 years younger than me or something like that, maybe more.
Yeah.
And when you see her competing, then you know, and you see the type of discipline she has, that if not now, on one day she will get it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think
that's
I
cool.
was,
That's the goal eventually, that you set, I think, a challenge for the next generation to reach.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a good thing that the sport is developing still, and it will continue to develop.
Wow. Well, and it's, I don't know. It sounds like you were for Tori. Like you wanted Tori to be successful. You weren't worried about your record necessarily, as much as you cared about the sport and like that it continued to be bettered.
I think it's nice to have this kind of people in the sport who are able to to show the possibilities in a way that if there is no impossible on the number, and then you can reach it, and you set the example for the next generation, because that's how, I mean, also for her, the thing, at the moment she's also performing and doing a lot for the promotion of the sport in general. And if we have more of these kind of people, the better it is for jump rope.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to use,
at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it doesn't, I mean, you know, if she come, I mean, if we do one time a chance to do a triple under record together, at this moment, it doesn't matter who is first or second. You put two people in front of the people, and the people see that one of us is able to do it, is great.
Right. Yeah. Either way, both of you can do way more than pretty much everybody in the world. So it doesn't matter at that point. Once you're over like 5 consecutive triple unders, it's amazing. I think I've done 2 consecutive triple unders.
Very good, actually.
It was very hard. So, yeah. And that was with a very fast speed rope. So I don't know how people do it. Good job for you. Yeah. I was going to transition off of that idea of like challenging one another and this like being encouraged by seeing somebody else who's done something that's really difficult, like motivate you. Because that's kind of the point of this podcast, and the idea of hearing people's stories so that in the middle of a hard thing, you can be encouraged. And so the primary question in this podcast is, what is the hardest thing in your life that you wouldn't take back?
Probably this would be this triple under preparation.
Really?
This was a hard period. I mean, it was a fun period also, but now thinking back, it was a lot of training. At that time, I didn't realize, because of course it's a different period of the life. But now if I had to do it again, I don't think I would be able to do one more time the same kind of training. Anyway, of course, and it's changing for sure what counts a hard thing during the life, and whether if it's training centered or outside of sports. But for me, whenever I had a harder moment, training was always a way to, not really to escape, but to put my energy into it. And so many times when I had some difficulties in life, then I went back in the gym. And I spent the long hours in the gym. To many of my routines, actually. The first one, which I did, had I think close to 9 million views now, or something like this on YouTube. And this was a result of a hard time in some other areas, some other fields of my life. And I remember like 4 or 5 months in the gym to create this routine. And I went, it was a celebration for my younger brother's school leaving exam. And they asked me, do you think you can show a little bit with the skipping rope? And somebody recorded it, put it on YouTube. I did this routine, which I worked on for 4 or 5 months. And it went, the next day, my phone didn't stop ringing.
Really?
Yeah, it was like this. And then we did another one in Budapest, which was more a promotion for the city itself with the jump rope. And this was also changing the concept of actually videos here at this, I mean, in Europe in general, or Central Europe, I would say, that you can present the city in a completely different way. It doesn't have to be this regular touristic talking behind it, but you can put some action in front of it, guide the people around. And this also had like 4 or 5 million views right after. So then which I'm actually proud of, because the Hungarian tourism department used it for the promotion of the city. And also many times then now jump rope is part of their touristical trips. And
oh, really?
Yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm. That is really cool. So let's go back to that first one, because it reminds me a little bit. So I had a hard season where, and I'm not equating this hard season to whatever yours was, but I had a hard season. I felt like where my girlfriend, my first year in college, university, as you guys say, broke up with me. And I was so emotional. Kind of stuff, actually. I was so emotional. And I took out all my emotions into writing music. But it sounds like you put all your emotions into choreographing a jump rope routine. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious, like when you think about that routine and the choreography, like, were you trying to tell a story, or were you just like, take me through the creation process of, because it came out of a hard season, like, was there more meaning in it versus just having it be an escape?
I think that there was a meaning in it, and after you forget a bit the meaning, like in not entirely, of course, but I remember the process in the gym, and I'm very specific on having the choreography tuned with the music, and just in everything to it. So when learning the music, of course, you have some bits and pieces when you think, for this part is more maybe it's a little bit more sadness, maybe it's a bit like that, it's like this. So in a way, you try to put the emotions that you have through the whole routine somehow. And you start with I mean, it depends also on the music, but usually it's always a slower start, and then it goes up to a peak in a way when you get really angry and you put all your speed in the room. I'm joking. No, I wasn't angry at this point. I wanted to create something that is really tuned actually with the music, and it's a good match to the song, and fits with the outfit, fits with the scene. So maybe, I don't know, because the routine itself, when I look at it, and many maybe competitive people look at it, it's not really difficult. It's okay, it's long because it's 3 minutes and 40, and 3 minutes and 40 after you do competition, most of the freestyle routines are 1.5 minutes maximum. So it's a big difference to jump 2 more minutes on the same frequency or intensity in a way. But yeah, I think maybe not really necessarily a story, but when you perform, you put your emotion in the performance in a way, and that probably people feel, or other than just watching a jump rope routine. So maybe it's more like this, rather than it's a really story-based routine. It's more that you feel that, okay, it's now all her energy is out, now she's doing 3.5 minutes.
She's spent at this point. So okay, let's go back to the hardest thing, which you said was training for triple unders. Why? So part of the question is, why wouldn't you, like, you wouldn't take it back? And I'm curious, like, when you think of the reason it's phrased that way is because there was some benefit to this hard thing. I think we try to escape difficulty a lot of time because it makes us uncomfortable. We're not sure what's going to come from it. So why would you not take back this really difficult season of training? Was it valuable in some way?
For me, it was also a challenge if I'm actually able to do it at all in general, and also an experimentation, because I studied sports and English, but sports mostly my field.
Like exercise science.
Exercise, and training methodology. And then for jump rope at this moment, it didn't really exist like a lot of not necessarily scientific, but already tested training methods. And while I was studying, I tried everything on myself, basically, how I can plan it for, let's say, 6 months of preparation, how I can reach the peak performance on the day when I need it, for sure. And of course, you also do the nutrition part and everything that belongs to it. So I wanted to do it on a professional way, and at this time it didn't exist. Basically, it was more a sport that you do on the side, maybe as a cross training, and even if you did competitions, the amount of training was not enough to really be treated as a professional athlete. And that I wanted to change, because I like this part that you can be even in jump rope, because when you compare it to other sports, I was not training less than any of the traditional athletes or traditional sport people who were playing football or any other things, actually more. So in a way, I wanted to change this perception of the people that it is a real sport and it's hard, and then you need the same amount of energy and input to be able to get results at the end. And I think it was a good, because the people, when they hear it, and I wanted something which is about numbers, so it's not a subjective thing that you look at it and you like it or you don't like it, but it's really giving you a number that, okay, it's this much. And then when you try it, then you understand that, okay, this is hard.
Yeah.
It's no kidding, it's hard.
Yeah.
So at this point, I think it changed a lot. And it also, because it gave a challenge for the next generation too. Because at the moment when I did it, it was a big difference for the next ones. Even for the boys, I think it was, if I remember well, it was still for the male category, it was also the record at this time. I mean, it was not my goal, but eventually it was like this. So, and the period of training was, a lot of people ask, oh, why you need to train that much? You don't need this much, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I said, no, but I think it can work and I will do it no matter what.
Yeah.
Then, so this part, I think, for me, it was important just to check also. And now I can say that it worked probably for me, it can work for somebody else. So if people ask me for advice how to train for this, I will be able to say this and this and this you have to do.
Yeah. So do you have like a program that you've created that you can hand somebody, or is it still in your head?
It's still in my head, but many times we do instructor classes for people who want to train competitive jump ropers. So this is a question many times, also for not only for this, but general for endurance. Because I think also in Hungary at that time when we did competition, especially the girls had a very strong style on the way they made jump rope routines look for the public. It was fluid basically, or smooth. It was not very heavy skipping. So it means that you need some power in your legs and you need to train outside of jump rope something else to be able to do that. So in our practices, to have a cross training, to have a full preparation, not only for skipping, it was very important. And it is still, because eventually it will come back to the point how long you can be able to do sports in a light way without injuries, like you want to extend your lifespan of being not really as an athlete, but as a healthy human being, that you don't have to go in the gym with pain or something like that. And this was my second goal, to train in a way that I want to be able to do this as long as I can, no matter if it's a competitive or just for myself for fun, because I like the training of skipping, even if I don't have to compete or I don't have to perform or there is no specific goal. It's my first thing that I take in the gym. I don't go anywhere without my jump rope, actually.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah. So if I was summing up the things that came from that intense training season, one was the ability to pass it on. So like you learned a lot of things that now you can share with others. Two, you were able to prove to yourself and to a lot of others what was possible. Like you expanded people's horizons. Three, you were able to establish and build a healthy way of training that you could perpetuate to now. To like, would you attribute that season to being the level of a jumper that you are right now at this stage of your career?
A big part, for sure. Yeah, because technically you improve so much also from it, and you're pushing your limits in a way. You know how far you can go, and I mean you have to keep pushing them anyway. It doesn't stop at that point, but you learn a lot on passing your comfort zone certain times, for sure, and failing, because it's like it's a discipline where you cannot make a mistake. So it's that's the other pressure on it, that maybe you are able to do, maybe many people are able to do this number, but at the moment when they have to perform it at a competition or under pressure, basically, it's not easy to stay without mistakes. It's very hard, especially when you start to get tired. I don't know, maybe over 200, 250, you start to be tired, and then you have to be able to compensate that technically, and also to be able to correct little things that by the tiredness changes the way of technique as well. So for that, you need to do a lot more actually at the training to prepare yourself for that. And that comes back to the sentence that you said, that you have to experience how many different ways you can fail.
Yeah, I was so I was going to ask you really quickly, did you ever set a better number in training than you did live, or was your best performance your live one?
Performance, yeah.
Well, that is totally worth it, because that would be, it would probably always be in the back of your head, like, I could have done more because you did this number when you were training. Did people, yeah, and did people, when you were doing all of this, like setting your mind so intensely on most consecutive triple unders, what were people saying to you? Like, were they saying, totally worth it, keep going, let's see what you can do? Were people saying, why? I know you mentioned, like, why are you spending all your time training? Like, what were the voices and the counsel and advice? And was there anything that like you really held on to that somebody said to you?
Actually, none.
Oh no.
I didn't hold on to anything. It was like, well, they didn't. Well, first of all, my dad is used to be my coach as well, and
okay.
Friend, and they didn't like this discipline. They don't like it up till today, actually.
Really?
Triple under is not interesting. Is also the way of training is not healthy and so on. And I said, why is it not healthy? It's all right. So every time I usually train for it after we finish the training with the team and for the individual parts, and I try to stay in the not and do the things that I thought was good for me to do at this point. And yeah, so this was the first. It was not really a friction. They just didn't really consider it was important for to train for that separately so much. And then there are people who are neutral about it. Okay, cool, you train for that. What is it exactly? Yeah, okay, consecutive triples. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
that was the other one. And then there are people who are cheering for you, of course. And then when you enter the competition field, then the whole thing changes, because then it starts to be interesting that who stays up, basically. You start going together, and then when you see that, okay, people are falling out on this field, that field, and then you are maybe 2-3 people who are still going, then it starts to be very spectacular and interesting eventually. And then also, then from this moment, the people don't say anything bad anymore. Yeah, so from this moment they actually appreciate the effort and they understand the difficulty, and also acknowledge your energy invested in it. So but I think I am stubborn enough to go on my own way sometimes. So it was useful at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you were, right? Because if your coach and your father, which, you know, parents are super influential in your life, coaches, if they're not your parent, are super influential
also,
in your life. Put them together. Like, if that person is saying to you, what are you doing? You had to have a little bit of a stubborn streak of like, this is worth it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, there it exists.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine you would probably attribute some of that stubbornness, if that's the right word, maybe it's a different word, but to like the level of success that you were able to obtain.
I think it also continued after with the Cirque du Soleil contract, because that was also not the favorite choice for my parents. Not my mom, mostly for my father, because then, you know, at this time in Hungary it was not very well known, and the first idea that they came into their mind was like, you're gonna live in caravans, and then I said, no, not necessarily. I don't think we will do that.
Yeah.
And then, so until the moment when we went to watch my sister's performance in Philadelphia, it was, of course, then they understood where she's going and what happened, and that it's a good place to be, and it's really a really special place for an artist or for an athlete to be accepted and to be given a contract like that. And then when we watched the show, and then they saw that, okay, what we were talking about was not too bad.
Yeah.
Then the whole idea changed about it.
Wow. Oh man. You know, parents, and especially a father's opinion, matters quite a bit. And so I'm sure there was like this tension in you to like honor and listen to what he was saying, but then still pursue this thing that you believed in and wanted to try. And did that like, did you have a lot of going back and forth, or was it, you know, just initially and then you set your sights and you were gone, you were doing it?
I think it was mostly initially until they realized that been working on and doing is a good thing.
Hmm.
So and we are at a good place. It's not that we are living in, I mean, even if I was living in a caravan, I did that also. Afterwards, actually not after, before. It was another contract which I didn't know, but I took it, and it was a good thing. It was
Yeah.
nice. It was a different experience, but yes, it was not Cirque du Soleil. But this I didn't say to them, and probably will
Yeah.
not understand in this interview anyway. So I am kidding.
Totally fine.
So anyway, no, there was no friction afterwards. And then once they saw that we are desperately decided and we want to go there, then they were okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, like, you've been through this, you had that friction, you set your sights, all of this stuff that you've learned. Somebody's in their own hard season. They're trying to decide if what they've set their sights on is worth pursuing. What advice would you give them?
My first advice would be to go step by step. It's for me, it usually works, because when you look at the big picture, it's sometimes scary, and then you see, you feel you are really far. That's how I felt at that moment. It's is it possible? Is it not possible? But when you start to take the first step, then you have a little bit of success, probably, if the step is well set or well chosen. Then you can take the next step, and then eventually you will have, I think, your own inspiration, motivation, and then it will help you to keep going and take bigger steps eventually. So I think it's very important how you pace yourself always.
Yeah.
Not only in training but in life as well. To be able to set goals that are possible to reach, and then you can look at the bigger picture.
Okay. So take me back. How did that apply with the Cirque? Because you said it was a 6-year process before you got accepted. Like, what were can you even remember what some of the little goals were that you had set step by step to get to that point?
I actually didn't expect anymore from them any call after 6 years. But I was happy for my sister, because she was there, and then I went to visit her several times, and it was cool. And I really didn't expect that I will have the chance to work with them ever. But I still did my own trainings, and I never stopped. So I never stopped doing jump rope, and I never stopped training on the same way at these 6 years, how I used to be before, for competitions and also for performances. So I did my own little performances for little communities, for charities, for children in the schools. I start to teach a lot of classes, and I keep training. I didn't attend competitions at this time. I just wanted to, because I like the training part of it. So I kept the same kind of training, and I experimented with a lot of footwork patterns also. And then this I actually didn't keep in touch with Cirque du Soleil also, so I was not sending them updated videos every month or every 3-4 months to, guys, I'm here, I want to work with you. I was working just for my own entertainment, basically. And after 6 years, they called me that there is a spot in New York, and if I'm interested, because they would like me to join the cast that is going for 3 months for the Christmas season. And then at this time, I had all my life built up in Prague.
Yeah.
I was full of classes and so on, but I thought, okay, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, so I'm going. And after what will happen, I don't know yet, but something will happen. So we will see. And then I left for 3 months, and when I came back, but for 2 months, you can organize some substitution here and there. It's possible if you just leave for one time. But then I came back, and I started to take back all the classes and restart. And I think it was maybe 2.5 months that I spent in Prague, and then I get another call that, okay, now we would like you, actually your sister would like you to replace her for 3 months. And then I was like, okay, good, I'm going.
Yeah. Wow. Just had to up and leave a few different times, but you're committed to it.
I was ready to go. And then after this, I started to be, I started to learn a lot of things. I mean, also from the first time when I joined the cast, for me, it was a very good education. Not necessarily on jump rope, but on a lot of other things about how to promote yourself as a solo art, as an artist in general. Also about how to create a stage routine, what you have to pay attention to, and so on. So when I came back after the second adventure of Cirque, then I started to build my own things. So I started to create my own routine, costumes, and all what I need around it, and then the videos as well. And then I got a lot of possibilities outside of Cirque du Soleil to perform. So we were doing a mix of. I was working several months there, and then I could do my own thing. So it was a good mix.
Yeah. So you learned quite a bit through it.
Yeah,
so,
it was a nice experience in general.
Yeah. So I like to ask this question as kind of like the last question. What is a hard thing that you're currently in the middle of?
A lot.
Oh.
For the moment, the first one is, well, we are building an academy in Hungary for jump rope, and it's a nice thing, but it doesn't feel hard at the moment. But there is a lot of things to do around it. So this one is something special, and also special to work with children is, and I like to work with children who have the same kind of dream. Not necessarily everybody will have it, but I like to see few of them that has a dream to pursue in this field. And I'm searching who could be the one that can continue and that I can help to go far enough in this field.
Yeah.
So
you're making jump rope disciples. You're trying to multiply and have more people that can promote the sport.
Exactly. That's one part. And other than this, it's for us, I think it's also a time when life is changing a little bit, quite a bit, from traveling around a lot to staying at home more and building our things here. So that's another hard part, to get used to it. It's a step-by-step process also, because when you, I mean, during the years, it's been always like I worked in very fancy places, and I worked in the very small places as well. So the difference was always huge. I performed at the NBA game at New York Knicks, and the next day I performed at the Village Day for 30 people, where there is no stage and you are on the concrete. So I mean, it's okay. It's nice. It's sometimes nicer than the big things because of the people who are there. And anyway, but the change of living from this to the more normal life is a hard part, because you don't have the same kind of it's not a motivation, it's more like adrenaline in a way. I think that will keep you going. So you have to do that shift at one point, and I think for us it's this kind of time when, at least for me, for my sister, maybe she's still ready to go a little bit more. I'm more ready to settle. And that's a harder way.
Do you feel, because like some of the videos that are out there are like, you are the jump rope girl, and does it feel a little bit like, as you're shifting away from that life, so to speak, that part of your identity is getting reformed, and like you're having to set aside this who you have been for such a long time? Is that part of what makes it hard?
Probably also, and what the people expect you to do, and sometimes they still, I mean, obviously you cannot maintain being the best, and it's not the goal eventually. It was a nice period, and I actually don't consider I never did consider myself the best. In triple unders, there was a time when I had the highest number, but it's very complex to say that about somebody who is doing jump rope, that you are the best, blah, blah, blah. And it's very subjective also, because some people like different styles. And it's not necessarily me who has to be the best, or I'm happy if there are more of us. So it's good. But anyway, the identity is for sure is inside, because it's something that you created and you lived it for many years.
Right.
And it's not that easy to shift. And also I had a period when it was not, now I'm okay with it, but I had a period when it was, you feel that you're not able to do the same anymore, and you can't, and you have to accept that. And this is hard. When you feel it on your body, that you go in the gym, and I know how much I have to train to reach that number or the level, but if I train this much, I actually don't do good for myself. I damage myself. So this, to find the balance at one point, is difficult to shift. So it's another experiment, how and what is enough and what is not enough, and so on. But for sure, the identity shifting, I accept it, and it's a good thing. It takes some time, I think, but you can recreate it always, and it's change. I mean, also when doing choreographies, your the emotions and the things that you want to share with people is changing. It's not the same every month or every year. And for this reason, I also don't like to do the same choreography for a long time, because it's not me anymore. I'm a different character than I was 3 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago. And sometimes when they ask me to do that routine and that choreography, I'm like, oof. Oh, really?
But it's not me.
Please, not that one. So there is one which is constant, and I'm happy to do it whenever, is the one on the Hungarian music. This one, for some reason, I don't feel that it changes inside me. That one is something that I can do, I think, for a long time. But in a way, it's time for the new people to come in and do my job.
Well, it sounds like, you've had a little bit of time to get to that place. And it wasn't like taken, like a lot of people who have injuries or they were forced to retire, it's just cut off immediately. And you kind of gotten to like slowly release it, which sounds like a really, like a gift, like to be able to do it that way. So that's cool.
It keeps you calm.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, before I let you go, people who maybe are just hearing you for the first time, or they have loved, what they've seen of you and the way that you jump, like, how can people follow you, connect with you, see what you're up to in the next 6 months, a year? Where are you at?
The easy way, because my last name is difficult. So
I know I don't actually know how to pronounce it correctly. So
the easy way is, if they look for, probably YouTube will be a good spot to find everything about me. If they put Adrienn jump rope, they will find quite a few videos. And Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, they can find my name as well, Adrienn Banhegyi. And then also, if they are looking into some more training ideas, then they can also check Jump Plus World. Okay,
jumpplusworld.com.
.com.
.com. Okay, cool. Well, Adrienn, thanks for hopping on. This is a lot of fun. You have so much joy, and it really comes through, and I appreciate that about you. So it was really fun and easy to talk to you, and I'm glad that we got to do this.
Thank you very much.